Trustee Cosmerly and seconded by Trustee Gibson. Any questions or comments or additions to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll go ahead with the vote. Please, Director.
Trustee Clement.
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison.
In favor?
Trustee Dewar.
In favor.
Trustee Farrell.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson.
In favor.
Trustee Hunda.
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly.
In favor.
Trustee McCauley.
In favor.
Student Trustee Nuchtai.
In favor.
Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel.
In favor.
The motion is carried.
Thank you, Director. Preliminary declarations of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, moving on to presentations. We do not have a presentation tonight because the Director will be providing an update later on our annual report. I hear it's only 84 pages, so stay tuned. And reports from closed meeting of the board, we have none for this meeting. We're moving to old business. We have 2 sets of previous minutes that need to be approved. First motion, and we'll need a mover and a seconder, that the minutes of the organizational meeting held on Tuesday, November 19th be approved. And we need a mover for that. That's moved by Trustee Clement and seconded by Trustee Hunda. Any questions, comments, errors, omissions? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Please, Director.
Trustee Clement.
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison.
In favor?
Trustee Dewar.
In favor.
Trustee Farrell.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson.
In favor.
Trustee Hunda.
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly.
In favor.
Trustee McCauley.
In favor.
Student Trustee Nuchtai.
In favor.
And Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel.
In favor.
Motion's carried.
Thank you, Director. Our second set of minutes, I'll need a mover and a seconder that the minutes of the regular board meeting held on Tuesday, November the 19th be approved. And that's moved by Trustee Cosmerly and seconded online by Trustee Corbier-Addison. Any questions, comments, errors, or omissions? Seeing none, then we'll go to the Director for the vote, please.
Trustee Clement.
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison.
In favor?
Trustee Dewar.
In favor.
Trustee Farrell.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson.
In favor.
Trustee Hunda.
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly.
In favor.
Trustee McCauley.
In favor.
Student Trustee Nuchtai.
In favor.
Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel.
In favor.
Motion is carried.
Thank you, Director. Going to the next section of our agenda is reports and recommendations from the board, and 2A is Strategic Planning Committee bylaw reviews. So we have 3 motions for consideration tonight. These motions emanated out of strategic planning, have gone through the notice of motion process, and tonight we discuss them and move them forward at the board table. So motion number 1 is, we're looking for a mover and a seconder, that the changes to the governance bylaw number 3, inaugural and annual organization meeting attached be approved. So first of all, we'll need a mover for that, moved by Trustee Cosmerly and seconded by Trustee McCauley. So with that in mind, now that it's on the table, I believe that we have an amendment. So we'll go to Trustee Gibson to give us some rationale.
Thank you. And I just wanted to state from the outset that I consider this a friendly amendment. It's really just cleaning up some language and including the name, the OPSPA representation in the heading so it's easier to find. So it's really just housekeeping and cleaning up some language. So the only changes to what was printed was the adding to the title of Governance Bylaw 3 to inaugural and annual organisational meetings and representation at Ontario Public School Board Association, known as OPSPA. And then the other change is in section 3.7. 3.7 will read, as is written in the notice, except for the very beginning where it shall say, the board shall elect each April at its regular board meeting one trustee to serve as its representative, known as a director, on the OPSPA Board of Directors, and will provide that person's name to OPSPA 1 month prior to the association's annual meeting. The rest of it reads the same, except for any instances where it did say elect or appoint, it now just says elect. That is our practice, is to elect our representatives, so it's just making it clear that that's what we will do. And then 3.8 remains the same instead of being changed, where the chair shall direct the scrutineers to destroy any and all ballots used during the elections by recorded motion. And 3.8 refers to elections. So that's any time we have an election. So we used to only do that at the organisational and the annual meeting, but now we'll do that in April because of the timetabling change for OPSPA. But we'll follow the same process with secret ballot and destroying the ballots.
Thank you, Trustee Gibson. So you'd like to move that amendment? We'll need a seconder for that. That'd be seconded by Trustee Cosmerly. Okay, so I wonder if there's anybody, we've got two, first of all, I'd like to have, Trustee Cosmerly, would you like to speak in favor of the motion?
I'm quite happy with the change. These, as Trustee Gibson said, are more cosmetic types of changes. I have no issues with them.
Thank you, Trustee Cosmerly. Anybody like to speak in opposition to the amendment? Seeing none, anybody have any final words before we move the amendment to a vote? Okay, so we're going to call the vote, but this is the vote on the amendment only, okay? So we're voting on Trustee Trustee Gibson's amendment. Okay, go ahead, Director.
Trustee Clement?
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison?
In favor.
Trustee Dewar?
In favor.
Trustee Farrell?
In favor.
Trustee Gibson?
In favour.
Trustee Hunda?
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly?
In favor.
Trustee McCauley?
In favor.
Student Trustee Nugentime?
In favor.
Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel?
In favor.
The motion to amend is carried.
Thank you, Director. I just need to see who moved the original motion again.
The original is Trustee Cosmerly, Trustee Cosmerly and Trustee McCauley.
Okay, so we're going to go now to the main motion. It's been duly moved and seconded, moved by Trustee Cosmerly, seconded by Trustee McCauley, and that's on the main motion that has now been amended. So before we go to the vote, are there any questions, comments that anybody would like to make? Seeing none, so we will go to the vote for the main motion here, and Director, go ahead.
Trustee Clement?
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison?
In favor.
Trustee Dewar?
In favor.
Trustee Farrell?
In favor.
Trustee Gibson?
In favour.
Trustee Hunda?
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly?
In favor.
Trustee McCauley?
Favor.
Student Trustee Nugentime?
In favor.
Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel?
In favor.
The motion is carried.
Thank you, Director. We're going to now move to motion number 2, and we'll need a mover and a seconder that the changes to Governance Bylaw 6, duties of the chair and vice chair as attached be approved. So we'll need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Trustee Hunda, and a seconder, please. Moved by Trustee Dewar. I don't believe we have any further amendments or anything at this time for this. Any work that needs to be done in this particular bylaw can be cleaned up in our bylaw committee, but it's pretty straightforward. So once again, I'll ask for questions, comments. Anybody would like to speak to this particular motion? Seeing none, thank you very much. We will move to the vote. Go ahead, Director.
Trustee Clement?
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison?
In favor.
Trustee Dewar?
In favor.
Trustee Farrell?
In favor.
Trustee Gibson?
In favour.
Trustee Hunda?
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly?
In favor.
Trustee McCauley?
In favor.
Student Trustee Nugentime?
In favor.
And Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel.
In favor.
Motion is carried.
Thank you, Director. And so we'll move on to motion number 3, and we'll need a mover and a seconder to get the motion on the floor. And that's, the motion reads that the changes to the Governance Bylaw Committee information page as attached be approved. So we need a mover for that. That's moved by Trustee McCauley. Seconded by Trustee Gibson. Thank you very much. It's on the floor. And I do believe we also have an amendment to this motion, so I'll recognize Trustee Cosmerly.
Thank you. I'd like to propose an amendment that the membership of the Governance, Policy and Bylaw Review Committee be changed from all trustees and Director of Education to 6 trustees and Director of Education. And my rationale is as follows. Significant changes are coming in September 2025 with respect to trustee attendance at regular board meetings and regular committee of the whole board meetings. By indicating that all trustees are members of the proposed Governance, Policy and Bylaw Review Committee, we are basically creating a committee of the whole board, which, as defined by by OPSPA and its legal counsel is a committee consisting of all board members regardless of what the committee is called. And as such, we would be required to comply with the ministry's new and restrictive rules about trustee attendance at these meetings. I therefore submit that we change the membership requirement for this proposed committee to one that better reflects a workable and realistic membership number, thus ensuring that interested trustees may attend without fear of breaching the minister's regulation on electronic meetings and meeting attendance. And as with all our other committees, the board chair would be an ex officio member of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cosmerly, and you so move that. Can I have a seconder for the amendment? Seconded by Trustee Gibson. Trustee Gibson, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Chair Farrer. Yeah, I'm happy to go along with this amendment. I consider it a friendly amendment. When we first discussed forming this committee, we did talk about it, and the all trustees came from a place of just wanting to include everyone. But I think sometimes in our quest to include everyone, we don't perhaps think about what is the most workable solution, and research does show that around 5 to 6 people is optimal for a committee that's doing this type of work. It is quite laborious. And also the considerations from Trustee Cosmerly, I think it's definitely better to be safe than sorry when it comes to those changes, as we don't really know how they're going to work in practice. So I fully support this, and it will be like any other committee where you can put your name forward from year to year, so I'm sure we can share the work around over the years. But I would say that when the time comes to commit to, to see if you want to be a part of this committee, it will be a time commitment. So to think about that, there are other people that have larger time commitments on other committees, so they might want to perhaps think that that's where their time is best spent. But we can worry about that when we actually form the committee. But I'm quite fine with the change. I consider it friendly. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Gibson. Anybody like to speak opposed to this amendment to start off with? Opposed to it? Okay. So I'll just go, hang on just for a second, Trustee Hunda. I just want to make sure if there's anybody. Okay, then we'll open it up. Trustee Hunda, go ahead.
No, I'm not opposed to it. Actually, I'm in favor of it. But can I hear the wording one more time? Like, I just don't understand why. I understand the point you're making, and I agree with that. But did I miss that it's 6 members only? Why?
Trustee Cosmerly or Trustee Gibson, go ahead.
If you do the research and take a look at what other boards have done in terms of standing committees, 6 is a pretty workable number in terms of a standing committee. The problem with saying all trustees, as I've indicated, gives us a headache, will cause a problem for us. So we have to change the number. This really is in line with what standing committees, the rules for standing committees. Thanks.
Go ahead, Trustee Hunda.
Supplementary. Again, I agree. I'm just wondering why we can't, instead of saying all members, up to 9 members, or which is what we have on our board. Then I would be quite happy with that, to be honest.
Okay. Go ahead, Trustee Cosmerly.
We can't say up to 9 members because if we have 9 members, that makes us a committee of the whole board. So we need to change it to a different number. I'm open to discussion if there's another number that works, but if we say 9, that creates a problem.
Go ahead, Trustee Gibson, and then we'll follow by Trustee McCauley.
Yeah, I just wanted to back up what Trustee Cosmerly was saying. So no matter what you call it, if any committee is made up of all of the trustees, it is a committee of the whole under the Education Act, and that brings any rules that apply to board meetings and committee of the whole into play. So the rule is not in effect now. You haven't missed it. It hasn't happened yet. It's upcoming in September.
No, I
The
understand.
rule will be that if you were to miss a meeting, you could jeopardize your seat. So this is really just to protect us from having too many meetings where if you didn't attend, that would be the case. We already have regular board meetings and our strategic planning, which is the committee of the whole. So we just didn't want to add any more to that. I think when we form the committee, the mandate is clear. We have a delegations policy, so I see no reason why if you had something that you felt strongly about in terms of the content, some particular piece you wanted to comment on, there's no reason that you could not put that into writing or ask to appear at the committee as a delegate, not as a trustee in that capacity. And then the committee would take into account the information that you've shared, and then they would make their decision. But you certainly would have a say. You would not be left out of the process. And then once the committee had made some decisions, they're of course going strategic planning, which is a committee of the whole. So never would it get anywhere near final approval without everybody being able to have, to partake in the conversation and to give some input. So perhaps that might allay your fears a little bit. Thank you.
I have Trustee McCauley, and then I'll come back to you, Trustee Hunda. Go ahead, Trustee McCauley.
Well, I'm inclined to support the motion, but I'm also inclined to support Trustee Hunda and what she's saying. I think that the elephant in the room here is because the minister has got this draconian policy coming up that is going to limit the ability of trustees to do their job. And I think as a result of that, we're being pushed into a corner. And I don't like being pushed into a corner. So I would just assume that we dig our feet in, hold the line, go ahead with it, and see where we go. Because I just think this is a whole load of you-know-what, and I just don't like the fact that we're being limited. Why? We're being limited because the minister is going to bring in this silly policy. And I think that we have to stand up as a board and be counted and say, okay, down the road, we'll face it head on. We'll do what we have to do in order to protect the integrity of our board. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee McCauley. Trustee Hunda, you've been patient. Go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you, Trustee McCauley. You're a little more supportive than me, I think. I don't know. I don't like limiting, because to me this is very important work. I understand not everybody's going to want to go, but I hate the idea that someone that is passionate about this may not end up on the committee. I just was wondering if there is a way. I don't want to hold it up, because I totally agree with it, but I just wondered if there is a way we could word it so that should everyone be interested, that they can. I'm going to have to hear the motion again. It was long. Was it mentioned in there if the chair was ex officio? Would that not cover it if we said 8 and chair could be ex officio? No. All right, then. I'm not sure I agree, but that's okay.
So not in the interest of moving the debate forward and not to speak to the debate, I just want to assure Trustee Hunda that the feelings that you have were discussed in depth when the amendment came forward. And there are people who are supporting the motion here have the same feeling as you have, right? This is we don't want to ever limit trustee involvement here, but there's also some steps that I think we need to take to protect one another in these situations. So I think it's something we can look at in the long term. So anyways, I have said enough as a chair. I shouldn't be saying anything. Trustee Dooner.
I have the same feeling that you have, Trustee Hunda, but I also believe very strongly that we have to be prepared for change. My one suggestion, and it is a suggestion if it could be supported, is to defer this motion until the minister, like we hear so many times that they're going to do something, and I'm just wondering if that might be a solution, to defer the motion until a later date. It's not doing anything, but deferring it until such time, and perhaps Trustee Cosmerly has a reason why we can't defer it.
Trustee Cosmerly, go ahead.
We'll give a reason. The reason is the Ontario Regulation 31324, and the other regulation, which I should have here as well, it's already approved. It's approved as a regulation, which means it's the law. So whether we have it in our bylaws or not, we have to follow it. because that's going to be the law. And what the law is saying is that all trustees, whether they have, they meet the exceptions and have board approval to attend electronically, or whether they attend meetings in person, they have to attend, period. Or we are in violation of the Education Act, Section 228(1)E, which means we are vacating our seat. It's draconian is the word that was used. I agree. I don't like this any more than anybody else does, but I know OPSPA has said, take a look at your committees, committee of the whole, because this rule is going to affect committees of the whole and regular board meetings, but not any other committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cosmley. Trustee Gibson.
Thank you. I just wanted to add that I do share everybody's concerns, but the reason I'm in favor of this and not deferring it is because I do believe it's work that is long overdue and it needs to start immediately. And people have been thinking the minister will change this, but it's now been there for months. It's been looked at by OPSPA, it's been looked at by legal minds, and they don't, despite people responding in a negative way to it, the government has not given any indication that it's going to change. So it's there, and I think we need to respect it. And if something were to change in that way, then we could change this and make it a committee of the whole. But I think for now, we need to operate under the parameters that we have, and this is the environment that we have, and we can't allow that not us continue in this important work. So I'm going to support the amendment.
Thank you, Trustee Gibson. We're going to go with Trustee Clement, please, and then we'll go to Trustee Hunda. And I think in the interest of time, we're going to move the debate along after that.
Oh, very quickly, I'm going to agree with Trustee Gibson that you're right. If things change, we change. So this way here, we're covering our CYA, and we can go ahead with this, and if things change, we can always do it again. Thank you.
Trustee Hunda.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Trustee Clement, because that's basically what I was going to say too. Like I've said it before, nothing is etched in stone. I want to thank Trustee Cosmley and Trustee Gibson for all the work that went into this, and we do appreciate it. But I can support it.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to call the question. So we have the duly moved and seconded amendment. We are voting only on the amendment at this time. So I'll go to the director to take the vote.
Trustee Clement.
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison. Trustee Dewar.
In favor?
Trustee Farrell.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson.
In favor.
Trustee Hunda.
In favor.
Trustee Cosmley.
In favor.
Trustee McCauley.
Favor.
Trustee Nuchitai.
In favor.
Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel.
In favor.
The motion is carried.
Thank you, Director.
The original is Trustee Gibson, and the seconder, Trustee McCauley, and the seconder is Trustee.
Okay, so now, thank you very much on that. The motion is carried. So we are now voting now on the main motion, and the motion was moved by Trustee McCauley and seconded by Trustee Gibson, that the changes to the Governance Bylaw Committee information page, including the amendment, be approved. Any further questions or comments on the main motion? Seeing none, we will move to the question, or to the vote. Director, go ahead.
Trustee Clement.
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison. Trustee Dewar.
In favor?
Trustee Farrell.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson.
In favor.
Trustee Hunda.
In favor.
Trustee Cosmley.
In favor.
Trustee McCauley.
In favor.
Student Trustee Nuchitai.
In favor.
And Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel.
In favor.
The motion is carried.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to express at the end of these motions a huge thank you to each and everybody around the table. The spirit of cooperation and the ability to work together to get things done here has been very, very incredible. I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, for moving these very important things forward. So well done, all. The next section of our agenda is Audit Committee, and I will turn the mic over to the Chair of the Audit Committee, Trustee Hunda, to introduce tonight's speakers and give a brief report. Trustee Hunda, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Farrell. This is the time of the year where we present to you the report on what the Audit Committee has been up to in the last year. I think you all received, I think it was today, I hope you all have had a chance to go over it. I don't really think it's necessary for me to read the report over, but I do want to know if there's any questions. What I can tell you is we've been very busy, and it's been certainly a little bit of a growth time, and we've got half of our committee is new members, and I very much appreciate that. And so some of them, it was a little, some of the work that we're reporting on, you know, 3 of the members were not there for, so you'll have to take my word for it. But there was a lot of work, and we've quite successful, and I'm very pleased with where we've come out. If you have any questions, though, I would like to hear them, and I will likely pass that over to our Superintendent of Finance, Adam Gibault. Is there any questions anyone has? Okay, great. Seeing none, I think we can move right to the motion then, Chair Farrell.
I think the next thing on the agenda, Trustee Hunda, is that we have a guest speaker, I believe it's with us tonight, to review the financial statement. So we should move to the Superintendent of Business. Adam Gibault, if you could introduce the guest speaker and any comments that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Farrell. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Derek D'Angelo, who's joining us virtually, our audit partner, and he's going to present the 23-24 financial statements on behalf of KPMG, following which we are happy to answer any questions you might have. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Derek.
Thank you, Superintendent. So thank you again for the opportunity to present the financial statements of the Rainbow District School Board for the year ended August 31st, 2024. I would first like to start by indicating that the financial statements were reviewed by the Audit Committee on December 2nd and were recommended to the board for approval. During the course of my presentation, I'll just provide an overview of any of the relevant points and any of the significant changes from 2023. If there are any questions, please just feel free to ask at any time, and I will do my best to answer, and if not, management will add their comments also. So moving into the financial statements, if we could just go to the independent auditor's report, please. So the first section of the independent auditor's report, which is the opinion paragraph, it identifies which statements have been audited. It gives our opinion on the accompanying financial statements. And the board received a clean or an unqualified opinion on its financial statements for the year ended August 31st, 2024. This is the type of opinion you want to have when you have an audit completed, and it's the highest level of assurance that can be given under Canadian audit standards. The second section, or the basis for opinion section, indicates that we conduct our audit in accordance with Canadian generally accepted auditing standards, and that we are independent of the board in accordance with the ethical requirements related to our audit. The third section, or the emphasis of matter section, describes the basis of accounting used and highlights the differences between this basis and Canadian public sector accounting standards. The fourth section is the management responsibility section, or those charged with governance. Again, what it does is it describes the responsibilities of management in the preparation of the financial statements, and also describes that management is responsible to develop and maintain a system of internal control, which is necessary to ensure that the financial statements are free of material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. And the final section of the auditor's report is the auditor's responsibility section. And again, this ensures that some of the responsibilities were to ensure that the audit was conducted, as I mentioned, in accordance with Canadian generally accepted auditing standards, and that we plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free from material misstatement. We are to obtain evidence about the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. We use our professional judgment, including assessing risks, considering the internal controls which are relevant to the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements. We are also to evaluate the appropriateness of the accounting policies used and the reasonableness of any accounting estimates made by management. And finally, we evaluate the overall presentation of the financial statements. If we could move to the notes to the, note 13 or note 2 on page 13 is one of the new notes. We don't have to move to it right now. Really what this is this is a new note this year, which details changes in the accounting policies through the adoption of some of the new public sector accounting standards, which began on September 1st. There were 3 new standards. One is Public Sector Standard 3160 for public-private partnerships, Public Sector Standard 3400 for revenue, and adopting the Public Sector Guideline 8 for purchased intangibles. The board has no purchased intangibles, no public-private partnerships, or revenues to disclose in the financial statements for the year ended August 31st, 2024. So none of these standards were technically applicable to the board in fiscal 24. So if we could move back to the consolidated statement of financial position, please. On page 1. Thank you. So the consolidated statement of financial position details the financial position of the board at a point in time, being August 31st, 2024. It would include the cash resources of the board, the net debt position calculated as the difference between its financial assets and its financial liabilities, the non-financial assets such as prepaid expenses and tangible capital assets, and the accumulated surplus. Looking at the financial assets, the first one is cash. At year end, the balance in cash was $26.8 million, up from $10.2 million in 2023. The change in cash is directly related to the operations for the year, the capital activities, as well as the activities in accumulated surplus and reserves, which we'll review a little later on in the presentation. Other investments are comprised of GICs and are recorded at amortized cost. Accounts receivable other. This balance of $8 million is comprised mainly of municipal tax revenue receivable, HST recoverable from the Government of Canada, and amounts owing from Indigenous Services Canada for students funded through the Jordan's Principle program. The accounts receivable from the Government of Ontario, the $63 million, it's mainly comprised of 2 pieces. One is the approved capital funding that has been approved by both the board and the ministry and is $41 million based on how grants are paid to school boards for capital and is directly related to capital construction. The second part is the delayed operating grant. Starting in the 2018-2019 fiscal year, the ministry introduced a cash management strategy whereby the ministry delays a portion of your grant payments to the school boards based on a set calculation. The delayed grant payment included this year is $19.5 million. The assets for sale, the amount of $436,000 relates to one property held for sale at year end, which is Chelmsford Public School. This property was reclassed from a non-financial asset to a financial asset in the financial statements. Looking at the financial liabilities, the first one we see is temporary borrowing. The $2.7 million relates to interim financing for construction costs for school improvement projects. The ministry funds construction costs twice per year based on the actual expenses and also provides funding for any associated interest. In 2023, there was no short-term borrowing at year-end. However, subsequently on September 6, 2023, the board requested credit facilities in the amount of $3.5 million for various school spending on school condition improvements. Accounts payable and accrued liabilities have increased from $20.5 million to just under $25 million in 2024. The main reason for the increase here is there was a $7.7 million increase in payroll accruals related to the retroactive payments for the collective agreements, really, which is offset by a decrease of $2 million in construction holdbacks, mainly due to the LaSalle Elementary School. Net long-term liabilities have gone down by around $2.5 million. The total long-term liabilities of $33.9 million are approved by the ministry and the board. And the only real additions here were some new capital leases related to the acquisition of photocopiers and leasing of 2 portables. Deferred revenue, if we could refer to the bottom of page 17 for note 10, please. Thank you. So deferred revenue consists of amounts that are received by the board that are restricted for specific purposes in accordance with the ministry guidelines. So looking at this, give you some highlights of them. Special education, there's a $5.7 million deferral for special education, $3.7 million of which is allocated to be spent in the 2024 year end as per the approved plan. The pupil accommodation is a carryover at year end to be used for planned projects in 24-25. Student achievement has gone up by around $400,000 due to some decreased spending opportunities in fiscal 24, and the balance is planned to be used in fiscal 24-25. The assets held for sale, as previously mentioned, there was one school that's held for sale at the year end. And again, this is just a reclassification from deferred capital contributions to deferred revenue because the school is expected to be sold. Proceeds of disposition, there's an increase here of around $1.6 million. And really this is the balance, the major portion of it is the amount held for sale from the 3 schools that will be utilized against the spending for LaSalle Elementary School. There is pending approval from the ministry to use these proceeds of disposition for the capital spend. And finally, the other deferred revenue relates to amounts deferred from external parties or some other provincial grants of approximately $104,000, and also the Rural and Northern Education Fund of approximately $34,000. These funds are allocated and planned to be utilized in 24-25. If we could turn to page 1, please. If we could just go back up just a little bit. Thank you very much. So deferred capital contributions include grants and contributions received that are used for the acquisition and development of tangible capital assets. There was an increase this year of approximately $3.5 million, which is the net of the deferred capital contribution additions of $25 million, offset by the revenue recognized in the period of around $21 million, and some reclassification, as mentioned, for the school held for sale. The asset retirement obligations at $19.6 million. This reflects the asset retirement obligations for the board's tangible capital assets. There is a slight reduction in the amount this year. And again, there was a reduction because of 3 properties being sold. But this has been offset by an increase in the estimate due to the inflation increases of 3.66%. The majority of this obligation is the value of the obligation is due to the abatement of designated substances, asbestos, and the remainder is due to the removal of fuel tanks and septic tanks. Finally, for the employee future benefits liability, again, this note, I'm not going to go through the details of the note, but it's 3 pages long. But this entire note provides details of the board's long-term obligation for the retirement benefits, which is the future cost in today's dollars of retirement gratuities and WSIB. These amounts are arrived at by actuaries. They use the employee demographics and information about the board's benefit plans to arrive at this future obligation at August 31st, 2024. So the obligation decreased by approximately $190,000 in 2024 due to some actuarial gains and the benefits paid, offset by interest costs and some current period costs. continuing down to prepaid expenses. So we can see prepaid expenses have increased from 2.7 up to 5.6. And about half of this total relates again to the timing of when payments are made for secondary teacher wages. In 2024, the 2024-2025 secondary teachers' first pay was paid on August 23rd as per the collective agreement. And the board also paid the September 24 Transportation Consortium payment at the end of August due to the September 1st falling on a Sunday. So we had two pieces of prepaid expenses this year compared to only the one piece in 2023. Tangible capital assets, these are the non-financial assets that the board owns, and they're used to provide school services, are used for administrative purposes, or are used for the maintenance and repair of other tangible capital assets. There was total additions this year to capital assets of around $20.7 million, offset by the amortization or the accounting usage of those assets of approximately $23 million. And again, there was a small amount moved from the assets held for sale. And with our asset retirement obligations, we had some revaluation adjustments of approximately $668,000. So the net decrease of $2 million decreased the net book value of tangible capital assets to $241 million. If we can move to the next page, please. So the consolidated statement of operations and accumulated surplus provides information about the board's accountability for its operations and the related achievement of its objectives. The statement also reports the surplus or deficit from operations and measures the change in the board's accumulated surplus in the period. Looking at the revenues, we can see that revenues have increased by approximately $35 million this year, ending the year at $280 million. The increase is mainly comprised of, looking at the first line in for provincial legislative grants, there was an increase in grants for student needs, approximately $15.6 million. Approximately $10.5 million of that is the result of the Bill 124 and collective agreement salary and wage increases. An increase in the average daily enrollment of 223 from 2023. Additional labor provisions for salary increases in the grant for student needs, and approximately $1 million draw from the special education reserve. Other fluctuations in revenue included a $15.5 million increase in other government grants, again of which $14.8 million related to Bill 124 adjustments for 2019 to 2023. There was a $2.2 million increase in the amortization of deferred capital contributions, a $1.1 million increase in other fees and revenues, a $300,000 increase in investment income, and just under a $500,000 increase in school fundraising revenue. Total expenses have increased by $37 million, ending at $278 million. And you can see that the expenses will follow a lot of the funding increases that we saw above. So increase in instructional costs of around $33 million this year, ending the year at just under $200 million. $31 million of that relates to the Bill 124 and collective agreement increases, as well as additional staffing required to accommodate the increased enrollment. There was increased administration expenses of $374,000, again, mostly due to salary increases related to Bill 124 and its agreements. Transportation increased approximately $1.5 million just due to increased costs. There was an increase in pupil accommodation of approximately $2.2 million. The majority of this here relates to a $3 million amortization of the tangible capital assets. All your TCA falls into that line. But this was offset with some savings in operations due to the mild winter and lower snow removal costs. School-funded activities had an increase of $644,000 this year, as more fundraising activities were done in 23-24. And finally, other had a decrease of around $783,000. And really what it is here is there was an additional amount of approximately $1 million in 2023 from the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario related to the Putting Students First Act. And again, this was offset by approximately $413,000 increase related to the Bill 124 and priority amounts. So let's left the board with a surplus of $2.2 million this year. And the accumulated surplus, you can see, is at $28.8 million. And again, the main pieces of the changes here, there was a $7.1 million increase in the unappropriated operating accumulated surplus, and about a reduction of $4.8 million in the reserves for committed capital. Again, the majority of this is due to the release of $5.6 million in prior capital spending for the LaSalle Elementary School. So the board in 22-23 used some of the accumulated surplus to temporarily fund the costs. And when in 24, the board had access to those funds, the $5.6 million was released back into the operating surplus out of committed capital. There was also some portable costs of approximately $800,000, which reduced the 5.6 to $4.8 million, leaving the $2.3 million increase in the surplus. There was also $250,000 increase in the reserve for the LaSalle multi-use facility. Again, this reserve was increased to cover any future costs of the field or turf replacement and potentially any exterior structural work. There was a $259,000 net decrease in reserves for the student-focused initiatives, local priority funds, and school-based initiatives. A $424,000 net increase relating to employee future benefits, and a $369,000 net decrease in other unavailable for compliance reserves. So the last reserves I mentioned are not available to balance the budget, as those reserves are externally appropriated. So this concludes my presentation of the financial statements for the year ended August 31st, 2024.
Thank you, Derek, very much for that presentation. Very much appreciate the work that you do as our external auditor. We'll open up the floor now for any questions from trustees. Trustee Hunda.
Thank you, Chair Farrell. I have no questions, but as chair of the committee, I want to thank you, Derek, again for presenting to us and presenting our very complicated financial report in a way that we can all understand, and I very much appreciate and the partnership that we've had for many years. I also want to extend my thanks to Superintendent Joubert and our Manager of Finance, Nancy Chicato, and all your team and all the work you do. I mean, every year it's so wonderful for the audit committee to get a positive report, and I love it when we get to present to you. There's a lot of work that goes into this, and very positive, and I do want to mention that this was unanimously received by the audit committee, and I do want to let the other trustees know that there was a point in time in our agenda when we were able to, we asked staff if they would please leave us for a moment, so it gave the committee members an opportunity to ask any questions of Derek at the time. So we were all quite excited about it, and we asked, on behalf of the committee, we asked that you support this.
Thank you, Trustee Hunda. Once again, I'll ask if there are any questions from trustees. Nothing online? Okay, once again, say thank you very much, Derek, for your presentation. Also, I'd just like to echo what Trustee Hunda said to Superintendent Gibo, as well as Nancy and her team back there for all the hard work that they're doing to keep the book straight here. So very well done. So we have a motion, and the motion, we'll need a mover and a seconder, that the 2023-2024 financial statements be approved. And that's moved by Trustee Hunda and seconded by Trustee Doer. I'm going to ask one more time for questions. Nothing? See nothing? We will call the vote. Director, go ahead.
Trustee Clement.
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison.
In favor?
Trustee Doer.
In favor.
Trustee Farrow.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson.
In favor.
Trustee Hunda.
In favor?
Trustee Cosmerly.
In favor?
Trustee McCauley.
In favor?
Student Trustee Nuchtai.
In favor.
And Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel.
In favor.
Motion's carried.
Thank you very much, everyone. Wonderful job. Moving on our agenda, new business. First thing is we have a 6,000-page report from the Director of Education for the annual report. So Director Bourget, I just tease you. Go ahead, sir. You're up. We look very much forward to your annual report. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chair Farrow and trustees. And before I even begin, I want to acknowledge the tremendous work of Nicole Charette. This beautiful document that will be shared with many of our partners and the ministry and, of course, all of you is a labor of love for her, and she puts phenomenal effort into this. So I do take a few moments to highlight and go through the pages and for your reference. So I really do appreciate this opportunity. So I'm pleased to present the Rainbow District School Board's 23-24 annual report, which provides an overview of what we accomplished together in the past school year. Our cover photo features kindergarten students Alara Duncan and Isaac Salas Garcia of Princess Anne Public School. Learning math begins in kindergarten. Starting young is important because students require a solid foundation in literacy and numeracy to progress in their learning. And we certainly love this picture because of the concentration, the collaboration, and communication in this photo. You can see the students are completely focused on the numbers. And although they're not, the picture can't speak, you can see that they're working together, they're taking turns, they're working with dice and numbers and watching the numbers that come up and matching them to the placemat, so they're learning a sense of number awareness. Building confidence is part of the mission statement that we've adopted by the board. Together we prepare students to become lifelong learners, achieving their full potential as confident, caring members of society. The mission reflects our vision, inspiring success for all students by reaching minds and touching hearts. The values that we model in Rainbow Schools are guided by the 7 grandfather teachings of humility, bravery, honesty, wisdom, truth, respect, and love, braided together with resilience, equity, and community. And finally, our strategic directions. And we have 6 priorities: student success and achievement, truth and reconciliation, literacy and numeracy, mental health and well-being, environmental education and sustainability, and equity and inclusive education. And as you can see in the table of contents in the report, this annual report provides some examples of how we're meeting all of our priorities. And trustees, in your governance role, you've charted the path forward for our staff. And once again, I commend all of you for your leadership, your guidance, and your dedication. Your clear direction has enabled us to focus on what matters most to this board and to the communities that we serve in Sudbury, Espanola, and Manitoulin Island. And in this annual report, we've included an overview of the Board of Trustees that reflects the organizational structure approved at the last board meeting. We also acknowledge Trustee Linda Dubosky, who's acclaimed to her 3rd term as Vice Chair of the Board in November 2023. Included on page 3 are the student trustees who were selected in the spring of 2024 and were sworn into their respective roles prior to the start of the current school year. Also on this page, we've listed the Executive Council. And as always, it's a privilege for us to work with the board and its students in our geographic areas. As you see on there, Trustee Farrow served his 1st term as chair of the board in last school year. And in it, he acknowledges that parents and guardians are important partners in the learning process, along with coaches, volunteers, local employers, post-secondary institutions, as well as program sponsors and donors who join with us to create opportunities for students. Chair Farrow also extends his gratitude to the staff for engaging students in its initiatives to promote overall well-being and teaching and learning that fosters student success. So we thank Chair Farrow for acknowledging that our students continue to make us all very proud. And you will see that this pride is reflected throughout this annual report. Last school year represents the 2nd year of implementation of strategic directions, and as you scroll through each new page, you'll see a snapshot of the progress we made on each priority. This annual report celebrates confidence in our Board of Trustees for fulfilling their governance role with students first and foremost. Confidence in our instructional leaders, educators, and support staff who provide a strong circle of care, and in our students who make us all so proud. As you read the highlights under each priority, you'll gain a deeper appreciation for the work we're doing together to foster student achievement and well-being. And it's a privilege for all of us to serve the Rainbow District School Board and work with talented, caring, and committed staff across our system. We build confidence in our students, we build confidence in public education, and trustees, your thoughtful leadership guides us and inspires us. Throughout the last school year, our enrollment continued to grow as we look to page 6. This led to the Ministry of Education approving the reopening of Westmount Public School in New Sudbury. There's been an increase in the number of students who require intensive support program placements and therefore a need for more ISP programs in classrooms. 12 classrooms were renovated and ready for occupancy on September 3rd, creating more capacity for our special education programs and services. Also during the last school year, the Ministry of Education mandated school boards to create an administrative procedure on cell phones, and that's highlighted on this page as well, and mobile devices, which came into effect at the start of the current school year. As you know, we invited all of our stakeholders to complete a survey. In response, we're asked to consider several factors when considering their input. We thank our parents and guardians for their continued support as we work together to foster positive school climates that maintain and focus on student achievement and well-being. And as we know, eliminating distractions protects instructional time and enables educators and students to focus on teaching and learning. On page 7, once again, we dedicated a page to the topics explored during the Parent Involvement Committee meetings that were held in the last school year. Parent involvement improves student achievement. It is important that our parents and guardians have regular opportunities to be engaged in our schools, and that includes presentations on timely topics so they can support their student at home. The following topics were explored: the power of connection, helping students thrive through challenging times, parent reaching out grants and student success stories, social media and youth mental health, literacy and language curriculum, and supporting students in mathematics. Rainbow District School Board held its second career fair in the spring of 2024. Once again, we had a great turnout of candidates interested in filling a wide variety of positions. I'd have to thank our Human Resources Department, who worked so diligently throughout the year to attract qualified people to join our team at the Center of Education and, of course, in our schools. Beginning on page 8, we moved into the priorities approved by the board and strategic directions, and there are 6 pages of content for each priority. The report is not intended to be a summary of all the activities that occurred in our school. It does, however, provide examples of some of the key work that happened. While each priority stands on its own to make this work purposeful and meaningful, they do not operate in isolation. You will see how the priorities are interconnected as our report unfolds. We begin with mental health and well-being, which provides the readiness for learning. Our mental health lead, Sarah Clark, would say, well-being is a positive state of flourishing and balance, encompassing physical health, emotional health, healthy relationships, self-efficacy, connectedness, and fun, which are all components of mental health. And as you know, Sarah led the development of the board's mental health and addiction strategic plan for 2023 to 2027. The goal is to create a learning environment for young people to become strong, healthy, vibrant, and resilient members of society. All of the school community is responsible for these promotions and wellness initiatives, and they're supported by a team of social workers who deliver programs in our schools. You know, our mental health team also works one-on-one with students to identify early warning signs and refer students to community agencies for further supports. Students in grades 7 and 8 on page 10 participate in a series of mental health literacy modules as part of the Health and Physical Education curriculum. These modules, introduced in January of 2024, were developed by the Ministry of Education by School Mental Health Ontario. Parents received information on exploring mental health together to learn more about the content that was covered in class, including signs, strategies, and supports. Following a successful pilot, we also introduced Dare to Care in all schools from kindergarten to grade 9. With modules for students, professional learning for staff, and resources for parents and guardians, Dare to Care engages the entire school community to create positive school cultures with a focus on kindness. And we put a few examples of school initiatives in there. You'll see at Algonquin Road Public School, students interviewed talked about what kindness smells like, tastes like, looks like, sounds like, and feels like. And of course, students always provide us interesting answers. Kindness smells like pizza. Kindness tastes like sweets. Kindness looks like a hug. Kindness sounds like, "Are you okay?" And kindness feels good. On page 11, we provide a few examples of Dare to Care projects in our school. We also highlighted 3 initiatives: the Bell Let's Talk school guide, produced by the mental health team, a Kids Help Phone pilot aimed at building visibility for the services provided, and a youth substance use prevention presentation for parents and guardians. On the next page, we visit Manitoulin Secondary School, where Fridays are soup days. And teacher and one of the leaders of this initiative, John Belf, says, it's not about the soup. It's about the kids who show up and sit down beside them and you engage in conversation. The soup creates unity. It's an experience of community. When asked, what kind of soup is it today? Teacher John Belf is quick to reply, the good kind. Our next page. In the final feature on mental health and well-being, we joined the staff at the Applied Behavior Analysis Program, which is the most intensive support program offered by the board. It's been 10 years since the program was introduced. Superintendent Kathy Watchnuk says we recognized the need and invested in our own expertise to support our students and their families. The goal is to increase behaviors that are helpful and adaptive and reduce behaviors that hinder a student's ability to learn. Once students achieve certain levels and they've met requirements, they can move sometimes into the Northern Support Initiative program, where they're given greater independence and staff support reduces gradually to simulate a more traditional school setting. And I would add to this that this creates also an opportunity for our students to stay in town and not have to access resources in Southern Ontario. On page 14, we shift our focus to literacy and numeracy. As you know, all of our schools develop school improvement plans which provide common visions for moving student achievement forward. They're not only ensuring that resources are allocated to what matters most, they can become a catalyst for daily conversations and instructional coaching to support teaching and learning. The more we talk about what we do and share best practices as educators, the more we grow and the more our students succeed. And I've said this many times and I'll say it again, our students must read and write each and every day to gain strong foundational skills. When we preserve the literacy block for explicit reading and writing activities and focus on continuous improvement through daily practice, we give our students the best opportunity to achieve their full potential. On page 15, you can read about how Adamsdale Public School is moving students forward with their focused approach on phonological skills instruction, systematic and explicit phonics instruction, reinforcing decoding through text selection and strategy instruction, and teaching irregular words with intention. And I want to highlight a quote from grade 1 teacher Sierra Martin, who noticed significant improvements in her students' abilities. And she says, "This success is an amazing reminder of why I chose to be an educator. Seeing students make gains not only in their early literacy skills, but also in their self-confidence is the greatest reward I could ask for." This is another example how our annual report celebrates confidence. On page 16, we focus on Learning Together resources for home compiled by our program team. This resource puts learning supports in parents and guardians' fingertips to encourage students to practice their skills at home. We will include in this document kindergarten packages when parents and guardians attend our information sessions in January 2025. Page 17. Last year we shared with you the response to the Literacy Lighthouse classrooms was very positive. Teachers witnessed growth in their students' reading and writing, and this Lighthouse initiative was extended to our junior classrooms during the 23-24 year, building on the previous year's success. Teachers were able to visit model classrooms in grades 1 to 3 at Adamsdale Public School and Redwood Acres, and in grades 5 to 6 at Queen Elizabeth Public School and Sierra Judd Public School, with ongoing support from 2 literacy coaches. The classrooms showcased best practices for teaching, reading, and writing, and our participants returned to their respective schools to implement the strategies. The Ministry of Education announced that it's updating the kindergarten curriculum for 2025. The curriculum will include evidence-based, systematic, and explicit instruction of foundational skills and knowledge in early literacy and math. Moving to page 18, we move to math, with a focus on math action plans being developed by our schools to align with the board's math action plans. Our educators have been participating in professional learning to build their confidence in teaching math with access to tools, resources, knowledge, and diagnostic assessments. Page 19 shows the diagnostics that allow teachers to gauge the student's overall performance in math. This data guides next steps for instruction or intervention, and therefore becomes an immediate catalyst for instructional decision-making for student learning. Our math lead, Superintendent Leslie Fisher, says, "We love math, and we want our students to love math." And I love math too. We're certainly seeing the results of these efforts in continuous gains in our EQAO results. Moving to page 20, these results are summarized in the next 2 pages of our report. You will recall that Rainbow District School Board recorded the highest result among English language school boards in Northeastern Ontario for the 2023-2024 year in each of the 6 elementary EQAO assessments: primary reading, primary writing, and math, as well as junior reading, junior writing, and math. Our board also had the second highest overall result in grade 9 math and in the Ontario School Literacy Test, which was our highest result ever. This is a testament to our school administrators, our instructional leaders, our educators, and our support staff in the schools. On page 21, we presented these results showing trends over time. And as I said in my message at the beginning, our focus remains on continuous improvement. Small steps over time result in significant change. And we are certainly headed in the right direction thanks to our committed and talented staff. On page 22, we move to student success and achievement, and we know that good teaching doesn't just happen. It is planned, purposeful, and intentional. And during the last year, we shared high-yield strategies. Those were part of presentations we shared with you. High-yield strategies, we have a little quote for you. High-yield instructional strategies, as the name implied, have the greatest impact on teaching and learning, says Principal of Program Dan Kozier. They are the building blocks for student success. And Melanie Bertrand, our Principal of Student Success, adds, high-yield strategies apply across the curriculum. Regardless of the subject matter, good teaching becomes that much better when teachers use these strategies to guide their instruction. And moving to page 23, you see them listed. Learning goals, direct instruction, feedback, questioning, deliberate practice, flexible grouping, my favorite, reteaching, and success criteria. These strategies are embedded into our professional learning and reflected into our classroom practices. On page 24, we travel to C.R. Judd Public School to join the first stop of the Trades Trailer. This trailer, which you got to experience in a previous meeting, toured schools to encourage students in grades 7 and 8 to think about trades as a possible course and career options. And as you know, skilled trades are vital to the health and growth of our economy, and we need more skilled trade workers, so there's lots of efforts in Rainbow schools to promote the trades. On page 25, our teachers also received hand-on lessons in technology to support some of the new equipment that came our way. And that was in no small part to some of our consultants and coordinators' excellent work. We also want to thank the Ontario Council for Technological Education and the Canadian Tooling and Machining Association for their ongoing support of our schools and our students. Our students are being exposed to newer technology at an earlier age than ever before. On page 26, we joined the founder of Project Search as she toured the program at Health Sciences North and visits our second group of students. Project Search HSN is a transition to work program that combines classroom instruction with hands-on training. Students in their final year of high school develop skills required for employment, and students participate in 3 internships throughout various departments in the hospital. These were guided by skilled, experienced staff, a teacher from Rainbow District School Board, 2 skilled trainers from March and Dimes Canada. And as you know, it expanded this year. Project Search Pioneer Manor was launched this fall, extending this great opportunity to even more students. Many of our students in Project Search HSN secured employment at the hospital or in other sectors of the community, and it's a shining example of how partnerships benefit students. And over to page 27, students at Llewellyn Park team up with grade 4 students at RLB Public School to build simple machines. This gave the older students an opportunity to give back to the younger students by working with them on a curriculum-based activity. The goal of this machine, timely at this point of the year, was to skillfully load Santa's sleigh with presents. On page 28, in environmental and education sustainability, we highlight our ongoing success at EcoSchools. It is no small accomplishment that our board was one of 5 boards nationwide to achieve 100% certification in EcoSchools Canada. This is the second time our schools have earned this distinction, and I can tell you that we'll be making every effort to repeat this tremendous achievement this year. Rainbow School Board more than doubled the number of schools that reached the highest level of certification, Platinum, over 2 years. We are instilling, thanks to our dedicated staff, in students, the school communities, eco-friendly practices that will last a lifetime. And as a parent of Rainbow Schools over the year, I can attest to that. Page 29. Our schools continue to participate in monthly environmental challenges, which include an Indigenous education component, and we've provided some examples. Through EcoSchools, students are gaining the proficiencies, perspectives, and practices to help them become environmentally responsible citizens inside and outside the classroom. And over to page 30, Rainbow's District School Board held our first ever Eco Summit, which was so successful that we're doing it again this spring with double the amount of participants. Eco leaders from grades 7 to 12 attended the Green Symposium to learn about environmental responsibility, how they can lead green initiatives in their respective schools and communities. And this summit empowered students with knowledge and practices to care for our planet. And over to page 31, we have some feedback from the Manitoulin Island participants, and I want to share a quote from Chris Theismeyer, teacher at Manitoulin Secondary School. Here's what he had to say. One of the most impactful moments from the conference for him was when a guest speaker from NOSM, the Northern Ontario School of Medicine, presented an image showing the difference between EGO, a pyramid where nature has humans at the top being the most important, and ECO, where students are members in a circle of belonging. We need to be in the mindset of being part of the whole ecosystem and not thinking the earth is ours to do as we please. On page 32, on these pages we visit Lively Secondary School, where a state-of-the-art horticulture room was unveiled thanks to a collaboration between the board, Cambrian College, and Sudbury Shared Harvest. Students learn how to grow their own food, propagate plants properly, and maintain plants and gardens. Beautiful resin cedar propagation tables were designed and built by the students working with Cambrian R&D, the Applied Research Division of Cambrian College. Over to page 33, you see this horticulture room. Students accommodate in grade 11 and 12 green industries classrooms, and its fundamentals on horticulture and landscape design. Page 34 brings us to our priority on truth and reconciliation. And as you'll recall, our system-wide PDA day last year in the spring encouraged all of us to think about what we can do differently to support this priority. We had some time with author Joe Crona, who inspired dialogue with many questions, and is facilitated by our system principal, Nicole Nicholas Bear. Questions such as, how are First Nation, Inuit, or Métis cultures reflected in the explicit and implicit curriculum of our schools, the learner resources, and our environments. On page 35, again, Nicole Nicholas Bear, our principal of Indigenous Education, engaged in a conversation with Joe Crona, and schools received a copy of her book on Indigenous pedagogies. Joe Crona emphasized the importance of relationship building and creating connections. She talked about her work in British Columbia and a vision of an education system where every learner has dignity, purpose, and options. We also heard from Kevin Lamoureux, who spoke and reminded us that what we don't transform, we will transmit. And once again, our very own vice chair at the time, Trustee Dubosky, opened the day and closed the day. She said that reconciliation, or reconciliation, is a journey, not a destination. And she expressed her deep gratitude to staff for all that they do to connect with learners through academics, athletics, and opportunities to build self-confidence. On page 36, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation was a day of reflection and learning for our staff as students continued on their journey on the path towards reconciliation. And we'd like to thank the elders who shared their experiences with us. Jared Sagroski said, one person can make a lasting impact. One thought, and one belief and one hope is all it takes to move forward. Page 37, our students also mark Treaties Recognition Week. We continue with the support on ongoing learning about the importance of treaties and what constitutes a treaty relationship. On page 38, we meet the Indigenous support workers and graduation coaches. The support workers build positive, trusting relationships between our learners, the school, and the home to foster student success. And the grad coaches use data to identify students within a cohort that require support and work with the student success team to map out a plan to build success. There's momentum happening, says our principal of Indigenous Education, Nicole Nicholas Bear. We want all of our students to achieve full potential and leave with dignity, purpose, and options, as Joe Corona shared. On page 39, once again, we signed a memorandum of understanding with Swakopmund Alternative School. The purpose of this document is to strengthen educational opportunities for Indigenous students within our city, ensuring students have equitable access to all pathways and completing their secondary school diploma. On page 40, we turn our attention to equity and inclusive education. Our lead story showcases a meaningful mural at Northeastern Elementary School. Our mural was produced by the talented artist from Cambrian College. Silhouettes of 10 students were photographed for the project, representing all grades, from junior kindergarten to grade 8. Within the silhouettes are words to define values: acceptance, cooperation, diversity, equity, friendship, inclusion, kindness, leadership, respect, and unity. Values that unite and connect the students, staff, and school community. On page 41, in 2023, we administered a student census and work census. The following extensive consultations included respective steering committees. Data from that census was presented to trustees during the Strategic Planning Committee meeting on April 30th, and the responses provided a snapshot of student and staff demographics during that period. On page 42, you see that diversity is alive and well at McLeod Public School, where students and staff celebrated the Lunar New Year in February 2024. The concept of the school-based observance emerged when English teacher, language learning teacher Melanie Matteo sought ways to foster a deeper sense of belonging and inclusion for the students' many newcomers. Students who traditionally celebrate the Lunar New Year walk the halls, celebrated with music, drums, streamers to showcase the dragon that the students had completed. Staff and students lined the halls to see their art in action during a parade where excitement was palpable. Principal Carrie Monahan said members of our staff are always exploring innovative ways to honor customs and cultures of our incredibly diverse student population, and added, events that celebrate our newcomer students and families create a strong sense of belonging and provide engaging learning opportunities for all. On page 43, Rainbow District School Board hosted its annual symposium aimed at enhancing school-based support for students, our 2S LGBTQ+, as well as students with families and friends in the community. Our Free to Be Me conference for grades 7 and 8 and for grades 9 to 12 has become an important gathering. Students attend workshops and hear from inspiring guest speakers. We also had Sudbury Secondary School, who celebrated diversity with their first ever multicultural fair. The Sudbury Secondary School Multicultural Fair is one of the many ways we are creating a learning environment where students feel accepted and respected, says Principal Heather Downey. Over to page 44, you see that we created our Welcome Center for newcomers. We've shared information on that. Newcomers can receive assistance with the registration process, facilitating entry into school for children. The goal of the Welcome Center is to integrate students in their school community as soon as possible. In our next story, we get out the bats and put up the wickets for cricket, which is one of the world's oldest and most popular sports. We were able to introduce that in Rainbow Schools to support with the help of the Ministry of Education's program and partnership development. Page 45 shows a little bit many of our newcomers have played cricket, and these students are now sharing the sport with all the students as part of our physical education curriculum. And it's received a very positive response. As Matt Coots, physical education coordinator, says, with cricket, we not only give students an opportunity to gain new skills, we also enhance the choice of activities that students can explore. Over to page 46, we pay tribute to recipients of board awards, and we also recognize individuals that have achieved 35 years of service and 25 years of service, including our very own trustee, Bob Clement. We welcome the opportunity to feature dedicated employees and community partners in our 2024 awards booklet that was distributed last spring. And over to page 47, together our award recipients reflect experience, energy, and enthusiasm that make Rainbow Schools great places to learn. On page 48, in addition to our award recipients, there's so many reasons to celebrate. Llewellyn Park once again dominated the trails at OFSA Nordic Skiing. Lockerbie student Adam Salamatidis earned an Ontario Heritage Award for Youth Achievement. The LaSalle Senior Boys Volleyball team were back-to-back provincial champions, and 9 students from Rainbow Schools were accepted into the SHAD Canada program. On page 49, you see that Llewellyn Park Secondary School Julia De Silva was awarded a Sewell Scholarship, and Lively District Secondary School scored a major donation for major drilling to complete installation of a new scoreboard and clocks in the gym. Backpacks were bought Smiles to all Rainbow Schools thanks to a donation from customers at Staples. And LaSalle Secondary School earned high marks at Music Fest Nationals. On page 50, Principal Shannon LaFrance was praised for a positive impact at Manettville. Rainbow Schools garnered gold and silver awards at the 20th annual mock trial competition. Rainbow students also captured top honors at the Canada-wide Science Fair, and Algonquin students captured top honors at the Skills Ontario Junk Drawer Races, which sounds like a lot of fun. Page 51, Robotics inspired a new children's book at Manitoulin Secondary School with a very famous student trustee author. Educators who mentor students in robotics earn provincial recognition. Llewellyn Park students captured top honors in the International Stock Market competition. And students from Rainbow Schools earned medals at Skills Ontario. On page 52, we congratulate winners of the Tech Skills competition. Sudbury Secondary School members received Police Community Leader Award for the school's Value Vault. A former member of Llewellyn Park, Silas Swords, made the Olympic team and competed in Paris as the youngest member ever of our senior women's national team. On Deck on Conning donated the Gaga ball pits to Little Current Public School. In page 53, the celebrations don't stop. Llewellyn Park hosted the first Robotics Tech Challenge, and LaSalle canvassed the community to blaze trails for fitness at Finlandia. And Educational Assistant Lise Orsini was honored by the Learning Disabilities Association. Again, trustees, this is hardly an all-inclusive list of milestones, memories, or celebrations. There is so much more. Page 54, it's become our practice to include an overview of the current board budget in the annual report. And you'll see the trustees, as you know, approved the 2024-25 budget in the previous year. And this is so important because it provides a framework to enable the board to achieve its vision, mission, and values in strategic directions. This budget was calculated on projected enrollment of 14,193 students, and as shared at a previous board meeting, Rainbow had 14,487 on October 31st, 2024. The public can access the board's financial statements at rainbowschools.ca. And on page 55, some background information about how the budget is developed. We seek input long before discussions begin. On page 56, you see our staff complement has increased once again as we continue to grow, and our facilities reflect the opening of Westmount. On page 57, we've included some pie charts as sources of revenue and expenses by object and function, and it shows a snapshot of what goes where, how the board allocates its budget to have the greatest impact on the classroom. Pages 58 to 63, we recognize our Ontario scholars and scholarship recipients from the 23-24 school year, and we want to congratulate all our graduates. On page 64, we've included a directory on the back cover for ease of reference. And trustees, I appreciate your patience as this concludes my presentation for the annual report. As you know, school boards are required to produce an annual report in accordance with the Education Act, and these reports are shared with the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Education, and our many partners in the communities that we serve. Our primary partners, of course, are our parents and guardians who've entrusted us with the education of their children. Annual reports are also posted on our website under broader public sector reports in the About Us section. And once we've completed the accessible version of this report, it will be available online. We will also issue a news release to advise the public. Trustees, we've had a very productive school year filled with pride and promise as we completed the second year of implementation of strategic directions. This annual report is a reflection of the clear guidance provided by this board. Your leadership through governance enables us to remain focused and purposeful in our work. This annual report highlights the commitment and honors the dedication of our administrators, educators, and support staff who serve our students and build their confidence. This also recognizes our partners in education, our parents and guardians who support learning in the home, and our coaches, mentors, and volunteers who help our students experience a world of opportunities through athletics, academics, and the arts. And finally, this annual report celebrates student success. As students continue to shine, and as Chair Farrow said, they all make us very proud. So it's an honor for us to work with this terrific team of staff as we fulfill our mission. Together we prepare students to become lifelong learners, achieving their full potential as confident, caring members of society. As you know, confidence is the greatest gift we can ever give our students. And once again, I'd like to thank Nicole Charette for her excellent work. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Director Bourget. What an absolutely incredible report. I'd like to open up the floor now to questions or comments. Trustee McCauley, go ahead.
I think it's an absolute excellent report. Director, it goes a long way to say that the person at the top is the choir master, if I can put it that way, that gets everything moving together. But you have an amazing staff, an amazing crew, and it all comes together to make an excellent educational system for this board. As the chair mentioned earlier, and you mentioned the chair in your comments, the fact that there's cooperation around the board here and cooperation amongst staff is reflective of where we are today. And we may disagree from time to time on little items, but at the end of the day, we come together. And at the end of the day, your staff comes together. And I look at this report, and I'm just absolutely blown away by its complexity, first of all, and the completeness of it to facilitate everyone in the educational community and the community as a whole. And I congratulate you very much for your efforts and your staff, your senior staff, your teachers, your support staff, and I congratulate you as well, Chair, for being the leader of the board to help facilitate the director's moves. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee McCauley, for those kind words. Trustee Hunda.
Just very quickly, thank you, Chair Farrell, and congratulations to all of us. And we don't really get to say that often, and I think in the last couple of meetings I've taken the opportunity to thank all of my fellow trustees that we continue to make students the focus on what we do. And if anyone is looking for people with bigger hearts, they're not going to find them. Also, to our great director, please don't apologize for this ever. It is long, but honestly, it is. I look forward to this every year. It's so exciting to see all in one. I mean, it's long, but it isn't, because everything isn't there, but the fact that so much was covered, and that all goes to Nicole. Honestly, years ago now, I wouldn't even wage to, which, 30 years for me, yeah. I wouldn't wage thank you. I wouldn't wage a guess to how long, when this particular example of our report came up. Nicole came up with it, and it is an amazing amount of work, and I don't even know how much time it takes you and your team, you and Jennifer, and you know, to put this together. But honestly, I'm sure our great OPSPA director, Judy Cosmerly, I know back in the day when I had that position and it first came out, it was the talk of OPSPA, our Ontario Public School Boards Association. Like, boards were just blown away on what we have. And honestly, it's a little booklet, and you know, it is such, it's so complete. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with singing our praises. You know, we do some amazing things, and it's all because of amazing people that work so hard. And I just want to thank everyone, including us, for setting our goals And I'm just so proud that we always are student-focused.
Thank you, Trustee Hunda. Trustee Cosmerly.
Just quickly, to mirror what everyone else said, it is an excellent report, and it gives us a good idea of what's been happening to support students. I want to give an example of the report in motion. I attended a feast earlier today, along with another superintendent who's sitting at the table. And it was interesting because at the school they had bins for everyone's garbage, but they were marked for recycling. There was a recycling bin, there was a compost bin, and then there was a garbage bin, and the garbage bin was empty. So things are, everyone is working together to put in place all of the priorities that we've identified, and it's great to see that in motion, but excellent job. Thank you.
Anything further? I'll just add my 2 cents too. I am extremely proud of the work that's gone into this annual report. It's so student-focused, it's staff-focused, it's filled with a lot of empathy, it's filled with kindness, which is a really good word that we don't talk enough about. And I just wanted to say thank you to everybody involved. It is a fantastic reflection of what's going on in Rainbow Schools. And I'd also like to thank Trustee Dewar for these lovely treats tonight too, because it helps us get through the meetings, right? And Trustee Clement says, was treats, his are all gone. So we'll share with you, Trustee Clement, no problem. So if there's nothing further, we'll move on to the next item of business, F2. It's insurance renewal. And I'll turn the mic over to Superintendent Gilbo to talk about a motion that we have to consider. Go ahead, Superintendent Gilbo.
Thank you, Chair Farrell. In your package, you will see the OSBI premium invoice for 2025, including the breakdown of each coverage and the respective cost. This year, we are facing a significant increase of approximately 23%. We have engaged in several discussions with OSBI to better understand these increases. They have shared that the insurance sector is facing numerous pressures, including inflation, rising litigation costs, and natural disasters that have led to unprecedented damages. The Insurance Bureau of Canada has reported a 406% increase in claims compared to the last 2 decades. Specifically, liability coverage has increased 4.3%, property has increased 8.3%, boiler and equipment has increased an incredible 50%, legal expense 43%, and cyber coverage 10%. Again, these are market increases and do not reflect Rainbow's claim experience. Last year, I did mention that our loss run history does include some claims, including last year's roof damage at Alexander Public School and some liability claims, but these are not trending concerns for OSBI, and they have assured us of that or anything out of the ordinary in today's market. In speaking with other boards and fellow members of COSBO, many boards are seeing similarly significant increases, and as a member of the COSBO executive, I have put forth a request to discuss further with OSBI at our next COSBO meeting. And with that, I will let the chair read the motion for your consideration, and happy to take any questions, of course.
Okay, so we have a motion, and we need a mover and a seconder that the 2025 renewal of insurance for liability, property, crime, and fleet automobile with the Ontario School Board Insurance Exchange for $435,298.08 be approved. So we have moved by Trustee McCauley, seconded by Trustee Dewar. So the motion is on the floor. Do we have any questions or comments for Superintendent Gilbo? Trustee Cosmerly.
Just one through you, Chair Farrow. You said the cyber has not been that has not gone up as much as some of the other areas, because I would have thought that would have been quite high. Thanks.
Through you, Chair. No, the cyber coverage itself has gone up, I believe it was 10%, so not a small amount, but not compared to some of the other significant increases. Again, as those claims become more common amongst the sector, not just the education sector, but the public sector or private sector as well. We might see increases there, but as of right now, it hasn't gone up as much as some others we've seen.
Trustee McCauley.
I just want to add that thank you very much for advocating on our behalf, and I know that you're out there doing as much as you can in a very tough environment, and I'm pleased to hear that you're taking it step by step by step to try to achieve the best bang for the buck. Thank you for that.
Anything further? Questions, comments? Yes, go ahead, Trustee Clement.
It's a quick, could you read it, what the liability insurance was? You said it went up quite a bit?
Through you, Chair. The liability coverage went up 4.3%, so not, yeah.
Any further? Unfortunately, this is a trend in today's society with the affordability crisis that we're all underway. So I want to echo what Vice Chair McCauley said. Thank you for advocating and being, at the center of these discussions to try to mitigate these costs. So very well done. Thank you, Superintendent Guilbeault. So we have the motion. We'll call the vote, please.
Trustee Clement.
In favor?
Trustee Corbier-Addison. Trustee Dewar.
In favor?
Trustee Farrow.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson.
In favor.
Trustee Hunda.
In favor?
Trustee Cosmely.
In favor?
Trustee McCauley.
In favor?
Student Trustee Nucci.
In favor.
And Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel.
In favor.
The motion is carried.
Thank you, Director, and we'll continue with Superintendent Guilbeault to talk to us about the budget development process, and we will have a motion on the floor with that also. So go ahead, Superintendent Guilbeault.
Thank you again, Chair. So within the package you received, you will find a copy of the budget development process. This follows the same format as you've seen in previous years. So this month, we will engage with the educational community on budget considerations for the next school year, with replies due at the end of January. In fact, with the approval of this motion, those will be going out tomorrow. We hope to receive information from the ministry regarding core education funding by the end of March, which will allow us to prepare our budget for the 25-26 school year. An overview will be presented at the first board meeting in June for the purpose of review and recommendation, with final approving coming at the end of June so that we can submit to the ministry in July. And with that, we have the motion for your consideration.
So we'll need a mover and a seconder that the 2025-2026 budget development process be approved. So that's moved by Trustee Gibson and seconded by Trustee Hunda. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. Director?
Trustee Clement.
In favor?
Trustee Dewar.
In favor?
Trustee Farrow.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson.
In favor.
Trustee Hunda.
In favor?
Trustee Cosmely.
In favor?
Trustee McCauley.
In favor?
Student Trustee Nucci.
In favor.
And Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel.
In favor.
Motion is carried.
Thank you, Director. Next section of our agenda is notice of absence. Trustee Dabowski has indicated her absence for tonight. Number 5, Director's remarks. Director Bourget.
Thank you, Chair Farrow. I will be brief, but I do have to thank Superintendent Guilbeault and Manager Nancy Chiquetto and all the Finance Department for their excellent work in preparing for the audit. The clean audit report is the highest level of insurance and a testament to the great practices and good work that's being done. So I want to say thank you. I'd also like to express my gratitude to the team of Rainbow staff under the leadership of Principal Brenda Carr, who came out to volunteer at the Sudbury Lions MCTV Christmas Telethon. It was an amazing event. Trustee Cosmely joined us. We all had a lot of fun and doing some good work for our community, and the telethon raised $416,000. Also like to acknowledge Principal Susan Kett for coordinating the distribution of some 400 turkeys to families and students in Rainbow schools. These turkeys are being donated by Matt's Plumbing and a host of contributing companies, and we will have a appreciation release out there listing all of them. So we just want to say thank you. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank all of you, our Board of Trustees, Executive Council, and our school administrators and teachers, and all the support staff for the incredible work that everyone does each and every day to support students and student learning. There are many events to enjoy in the upcoming days for our students and staff to enjoy. A very well-earned break is just around the corner, and as this is the last regular board meeting of 2024, I do want to sincerely and heartfelt wish everyone a restful, safe, fun-filled holiday season. Certainly look forward to our continuing excellent work on behalf of students in the new year. And with that, Chair Farrow, I'll conclude my comments.
Thank you, Director Bourget. Other items. Ontario Public School Board Director, or Association Director, Judy Cosmely, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I attended an OPSPA Board of Directors meeting in Toronto on November 29th and 30th, and to save time, have shared the main highlights of that meeting with all trustees. There are, however, 2 items of particular particular importance from that meeting that I would like to point out tonight. First, sometime this week, OPSPA is sending trustees a template regarding informal and formal code of conduct enforcement processes for consideration. The template incorporates regulation changes that the Ministry of Education is enacting on January the 1st, 2025. Second, there was a lengthy discussion at the board table about the changes that are coming into effect on September the 1st, 2025 regarding electronic meetings and meeting attendance. OPSPA is encouraging all trustees to read the leading practices document they sent out on November 1st, to be aware of the changes that are in place now, and to review their existing committee of the whole structures before the more restrictive changes come into effect. And finally, I feel like a sports announcer here. Linkages between education and the modern mining industry have become a hot topic. The Ontario Mining Association recently invited OPSPA staff to a meeting with the Minister of Education and the Minister of Mines to discuss how curriculum connections could be used to introduce students to careers in mining. Direct and indirect mining employment opportunities exist throughout Ontario. SHISMs and co-op placements provide good entry into the mining sector. However, surprisingly, only Northern Ontario has ministry approval to offer SHISMs in mining. And although our board offers 3 mining SHISMs, many other northern boards don't offer any. Near North District School Board presented the following resolution to OPSPA and is requesting our support. The resolution reads, quote, "Be it resolved that OPSPA work with the Ministry of Education and the Ontario Mining Association to promote educational student success programs that are directly and indirectly related to modern mining," unquote. Do we as a board support this resolution? I welcome any comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cosmerly. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Trustee Nugent.
Yeah, I'm absolutely in favor of that. As a student trustee, I personally go to Lockerbie Comstock School and I'm enrolled in the STEP technology program, and I myself am not in the mining SHISM that we offer there, but a lot of my peers and classmates who are interested in pursuing the trade, specifically a lot of my female friends that have attended the workshops like GLL Trades that the board has all offered, they've all extremely benefited from this. And I know very personally the student trustee for the Near North District School Board. He's actually the president of OSTA as well, and so I'd be more than willing to also confide with him as well to see what his thoughts are. I'm sure he's well in the decision process of this through his board as well, but I'd just like to further second that on behalf of you, Trustee Cosmerly. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Nugent. Trustee Hunda?
Just quickly, I am very much in favor of it. I think that this certainly meets the need, and certainly meets the need for Northern Ontario. And I think that it's fabulous. It certainly is a career that still has a long future.
Thank you, Trustee Hunda. Trustee McCauley?
I as well support the initiative. I think it's well worthwhile. It's supported a lot of people in our community, and will continue to do so for a while, and I think it's a great idea.
Anything further?
No, I will pass on the comments to Bill Steer at Near North District School Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cosmerly. I also wanted to just make a brief comment about the documentation that came from OPSPA regarding electronic meetings. I'm doing a rather deep dive on that. There may be some things that we have to change our practice in, but what I'm going to share, if you haven't received the information, I will forward it to you to have a good look at it also, because there's some important information there. So look forward to that coming in the new year. Thank you very much for your report, Trustee Cosmerly. We're now moved to student trustees. Trustee Nugent, do you want to go first? Trustee Wilson-Zago online.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a great evening. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we did in Senate the past month. So students are getting excited for the winter break with holiday activities taking place across several schools. To celebrate, the Student Senate did a Secret Santa at our December meeting on the 5th, and we had a lot of fun. Our Senate this year is very tight-knit, and everyone had a great time. Moving on to conference planning, we are having a couple issues with the process of booking the venue. We're just having a hard time getting a hold of representatives, but my co-trustee and I will continue to reach out, and we aren't worried about it at this point in time. Additionally, we hope to book our keynote next month, as well as our breakout room speakers after we have a confirmed venue. And due to some scheduling conflicts, we moved the date to Thursday, April 24th from Friday, May 9th. It's hard to believe that my term as student trustee is almost halfway over, and I'm tremendously proud of the work the Student Senate has done, and I'm looking forward to see what the new year brings. I hope everyone has a happy and healthy winter break, and thank you. And let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Trustee Wilson-Ziegel. Trustee Nucci, do you have anything?
Yes, I do. Thank you,
Great.
Chair. Sorry. Oh my God. I'm getting emotional. Okay. So hello, good evening, everyone. As Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel has mentioned, the booking portion of our conference has had some challenges that we are going to be navigating with over the next few weeks. That's our Christmas break. That being said, the Senate has come up with some truly exceptional ideas for our breakout room themes surrounding intelligence. Moreover, we are continuing the search for a keynote speaker, which is on course to be booked for the new year. Additionally, we are in the process of creating a Meet the Senators post for the Rainbow District School Board social media account to create awareness on what Student Senate is and who the Senates are in each school. 2024 is ending off to be a phenomenal year, and I'm excited to see what new adventures are to come in the new year for the Student Senate. It has been an incredible journey thus far being the Indigenous Student Trustee for the Rainbow District School Board, and I'd like to reiterate how thankful I am for this experience. Furthermore, I'd like to acknowledge how proud I am to belong to a school board that Indigenous education is nothing short of a priority, more specifically the role of an Indigenous Student Trustee being established. I say this because I've been navigating a lot of challenges surrounding other boards within all over Ontario as the chair of the Indigenous Student Trustees Council, and I have been working with now 15 student trustees from all across Ontario trying to get an Indigenous student trustee implemented in their school board. And I just like to think that I'm very thankful to be a part of a school board that already has that position implemented, so I don't have to fight for that right either. That concludes my portion of my remarks, and I'd like to once again thank everyone, and I hope you guys have a very happy holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Nucci. Does anybody have any questions or comments for our wonderful student trustees? Trustee Macaulay.
I think they are wonderful student trustees. I just want to echo that. They make fulsome reports at every meeting. They're involved. I'm very impressed with the work that they do and the ground that you're breaking and as you move forward. So thank you both very much for all that you do.
Thank you, Trustee Macaulay. Trustee Hunda. Now, don't get emotional.
Big gulp I am. Honestly, I'm so incredibly proud of both our student trustees, and we have a really awesome Senate this year. They are very quick time. Just since September, we have generally 2 senators from every one of our high schools, as you know, and they've really become a close-knit and hard-working committee. And you know, when I hear the both of them, both Alex and oh my God, Tia, I'm sorry. Speak, I do get, honestly, I feel like a proud parent. So I'm very proud of them, and I wish you both a wonderful, well-deserved. I mean, we're looking at senior students here that, as we all know, they have a lot of work to do, but they're putting in a lot of work here, and it's really my pleasure, and I'm sure Trustee Dewar shares my pride as their trustee mentors, and we want to thank Superintendent McNamara for all the work that she does today. I think we make an incredible team. I'm really proud of you girls.
Thank you, Trustee Hunda. Anything further? I just wanted to add, you know, when you get old and long in the tooth, like myself and Trustee Macaulay, you often hear about youth, you know, how they're not doing whatever and they're troubled, so on and so forth. You know, I have a great faith in the youth. and what's happening in the future. And both yourself and Alex are shining examples of the work our community is doing. So congratulations and thank you for being such effective student trustees. We really appreciate it. Now we're on to trustee remarks, and Trustee McCauley, you're up.
Yes, I'd just like to make a shout out to our PIC committee. I have a document here that's been prepared for the chair and all of the trustees, and I want to make sure that this gets out in a very public way. And I'm going to take a moment to read this and shout out, first of all, to Leslie Mantle and the team that really works to get PIC off the ground. And but I would like to provide a brief overview of the Parents Reaching Out Grant School Success Stories. And this was something to see, and we did this at the last PIC meeting on December the 3rd. They offer good example of the many ways our schools are engaging parents and guardians in their child's learning and in the life of the school. Adamsdale Public School held an amazing race math night. The school created an awareness of the math curriculum, provided examples on how to practice math at home, and made math fun while increasing parent involvement. And you have to picture this, because at this event, parents are there. Parents are interacting with the students and the staff and creating these things. Like, I'm very lucky that they didn't do that when I was there, because my math skills were around 2 and 2. And then we move over to Gene Hansen Public School, who held monthly family nights to build relationships between school parents and parents with parents. Events included a games night and a parent social and student dance party. And you know, these things are just great. And then C.R. Judd Public School hosted a spring into reading event with Indigenous storytelling, local authors, activity stations, family resources, and an evening book fair. And Chelmsford Valley District Composite School held a family math night for kindergarten to grade 8, and families received resources to continue the learning at home, and this is very valuable in the long run. And the level of engagement was fantastic, it really was. You could see that parents appreciated the opportunity to participate in activities at the school with their children and with school staff. And this all goes to making the PIC committee that much stronger. And it is great to see our parents coming together to learn, network, and share with our staff and with each other to contribute to the dynamic learning environment in our schools. And I wanted to let you know that Melissa Gladue of Northeastern Elementary School was returned as chair of the Parent Involvement Committee, and Stephanie Bork of Chelmsford Valley District Composite School was returned as vice chair. And on behalf of the PIC board, I really want to thank them for their continued leadership. And from my perspective as a trustee member on the PIC committee, I'm very proud of what they do, and I'm really proud to bring this story back to our board. Thank you for your indulgence. And before I go, I wish you all a very happy and peaceful Christmas and New Year. I sent you all cards, but they're in the mail.
Thank you, Trustee McCauley. Further trustee remarks. Trustee Clement.
Tomorrow night, I'll be attending the award ceremony at the EHS, and I've attended several of these to see the kids with the big smiles on their face and doing well. That's nice to see. Last Friday, I attended a presentation by Futures North. They come to our equity committee, going from school to school, speaking to grade 9s, that speak to words matter. And so it's fortunate that we have to come to that to teach our kids that words matter, because it's not face-to-face. It's on a lot of social media. Social media is almost like an epidemic proportions. We're taking it almost like we're normalizing it. And some of the top people are saying now it's a mental health problem. I was sitting there listening, and I'm going, you know, if I could just take them back to the 60s just for a week. The Beatles, peace, love, and where words didn't matter. They just didn't matter. Words hurt back then because they were done face to face, so you managed your P's and Q's. But today, to see the kids have to do that, and the presenters were great. The kids were participating quite a bit, especially asking questions that were, to me, were normal, but they didn't understand that. So I hope we can get more of these things going. Our kids have to understand. Our social fabric has to understand that this is not going to work. That something has to be done. Other countries are doing it right now, eliminating social media at a young age. I think Australia was at 16 years old, no social media. So they're saying about it, but they're almost saying it's too late. So things have to be done, hopefully in a very good manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Clement. Any further trustee remarks? Trustee Cosmerly.
I'll just be brief. This is the most wonderful time of the year when we get to attend fairs, festivals. We attended a luncheon today. So I encourage people to get out to the schools, to get involved. I know a couple of days from now I'm taking part in a trades training, and I'm going to learn automotive skills, which is better than welding. Sorry to the welders, but I'm not a welder. But all this to say, this is a wonderful time of year. Get out to the schools, get involved, because it's magical to see what's happening in the schools this time of year. And I wish everyone the best over the holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cosmerly. Any further trustee remarks?
Sorry, I did forget that. I'll have a Merry Christmas, peaceful Christmas, and enjoy your time off.
Thank you. Super. And Trustee Hunda, go ahead.
I know I was sitting here feeling very guilty because I didn't get to just take a minute and wish everyone a very safe, happy holiday. Enjoy yourself, and most importantly to our staff, take some time to rest. And just to thank you all for all the hard work and know that it's recognized. And again, happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you, Trustee Hunda. And Trustee Nujitai.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, Alex and I are welcoming all trustees and anyone who wants to come, actually. Feel free to come. Our student senate meetings, they're just a fun time. You can talk to any senator you want, and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to have that networking experience with all of you. So I send invites into all your Google Calendars, so have fun getting emails from me for the next few months. And our next one is going to be on January 6th at 5:30 in this boardroom, except I sit where Chair Farrell sits instead. Thank you.
Sit out there.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Nothing further? Thank you. So we'll move on to chairperson's remarks. I'm not going to sing and dance. Hang on now. I just have to find my notes here. So good evening, everyone. And just to add to the festive spirit and the goodwill, I just wanted to say, first and foremost, happy holiday season to everybody around the room, as well as folks that are online. It's a very important time of the year where we spend time with our families and friends, and we practice gratitude. Grateful for the things that we have in our lives and the fact that we live in such a great country as Canada. So I just wanted to wish everybody a season's greeting. So as we embark on the festive season, it's an incredible, joyous time of year in Rainbow Schools. For staff and students are spreading excitement and kindness in a variety of ways. And a list of festive events will be available on the board website. And of course, Rainbow District School Board is once again participating in something that's near and dear to my heart, is the Ager-Burton Kids Helping Kids Food Drive. Staff and students have been working together to collect non-perishable food items and monetary donations to assist area food banks. And I would like to thank Vice Principal Brad Smith and Andrew Kendall for leading this campaign on behalf of the Rainbow District School Board. A very, very wonderful, worthwhile effort. And I say this every year. I happen to have known Edgar Burton when he was first putting the food drive together, and worked with him very closely when I was a principal at the Rainbow District School Board, and led this initiative for a number of years. And I'm so pleased that we continue to support this very, very, very worthwhile cause. And we have no idea the food insecurity issues that we see in our country, in our community right now. So thank you for doing this. Manitoulin Secondary School will be hosting its annual awards night on Thursday, December 19th at 7 p.m. and close to $70,000 in awards will be presented to students. And we commend the community of Manitoula for its continuous and gracious support. Thank you so much. And do you have a child starting school next fall? Elementary schools in Sudbury, Espanola, and Manitoula and Island will host kindergarten information nights for families on Wednesday, January the 15th at 5:30 for English programs, and Thursday, January 16th at 5:30 for schools offering French immersion and schools offering both English and French immersion. All parents or guardians and children are welcome to attend. And a friendly reminder to grade 8 students and their parents and guardians that information nights for secondary schools will continue into the new year. Sudbury Secondary School will take place tomorrow on Wednesday, December 11th at 6 p.m. And in January, we will have the following information nights. Chelmsford Valley District Composite School on Wednesday, January 15th at 6 p.m. Llewellyn Park, also on Wednesday, January 15th at 6 p.m. for grade 6 and 7, and for grade 8. And Lockerbie Composite School on Thursday, January 16th at 6:45 p.m. Please mark your calendars and plan to attend. And a friendly reminder that winter break will be soon upon us. Schools will be closed from December 23rd to January 3rd, and schools will reopen on Monday, January 6, 2025. So once again, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I want to extend well wishes to all the staff out there that work so very hard on a daily basis, to all our students and to all our families, as well as our community partners. Have a safe and happy and healthy holiday holiday season. And for myself personally, I would like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. So we look forward to seeing you and working together in 2025. Thank you very much. I'm going to keep my hat on for the rest of the meeting. So that brings us to section G of the agenda, information proposal. There are a few official reports from the Accessibility Planning Committee meetings, Parent Involvement Committee, which Trustee McCauley spoke about, the Audit Committee meetings of September 23rd, and Parent Involvement Committee. There's no information on tenders or requests for proposals, and no staff communications. Section F, we have future meetings of student senates. It's all there for you. If there's nothing further, we will now at 7:04 p.m. entertain a motion to adjourn. So that's moved by Trustee Cosmerly and seconded by Trustee Gibson. We are now adjourned. Thank you very much.